stage, Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump.
Kamala Harris, let's have a good debate.
See you. Have fun.
Thank you.
Welcome to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking forward to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
The first presidential debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris is over. I know you've seen other videos talking about this debate, but in this video, I don't want to make up your mind for you. I just want to give you some facts. Now, I will give my opinion as well about what I think about what these candidates are saying, but I won't be telling you what you're supposed to do and who you're supposed to vote for. Welcome to the Mr. Wilson's Got a Headache podcast. I'm your host, Dennis the Menace. Since you're here, like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me, depending on what social media site you're seeing this on. Check this out.
I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their number one issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing, we know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because there was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do.
Let's keep it straight up. On this question, Kamala Harris did not answer the question appropriately. She kind of talked around the question, and the reason why is because she's a part of the Biden administration. She cast many tie-breaking votes, and many of the decisions that she made led to the inflation that you and I are feeling right now. She can't run away from that.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response. And you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is, under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires.
I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat.
Donald Trump came in and he talked about he wasn't going to raise taxes. He said that he was going to increase tariffs, which would bring more money into the country. Now, according to Democrats, they believe that raising tariffs will increase the cost at the grocery store and other places where we purchase goods, electronics, cell phones, everything. But I remember 2016 to 2020 when Donald Trump was president and he rose tariffs then. And I don't remember any crazy inflation. And to be 100% honest, the inflation didn't start until around a year and a half into the pandemic. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were in office then. Now, she also said that she inherited an economy with less jobs than the Great Depression. This is a politically charged statement. We were in the middle of a pandemic and people were told to stay home. And we have to remember, even under the Biden administration, a lot of those things got worse. They introduced mask mandates. The fact in this is that the inflation didn't start until the Biden administration. Let's check out the next clip.
Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, is doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. But what I did is something for 52 years they've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral.
On this point, I believe Donald Trump made a mistake. He spoke about how for 52 years or however many years, people wanted to get rid of Roe v. Wade. They wanted their power back in the state's hands. Now, make no mistake about it. It was originally in the state's hands. Roe v. Wade changed that. But most people, especially undecided voters, haven't done enough research to understand that fact. And it can be disputed whether or not it's true or not, because obviously most of those people are Republicans. On the other side, you're going to find Democrats who say, no, we didn't want it in the states, and it's very true. They wanted the government to uphold Roe v. Wade. He also said in this debate and many other situations that he supports certain exceptions. And this is where Kamala Harris made her mistake. This proves that Kamala Harris does have an issue speaking right off the cuff. If you were paying close attention, when Donald Trump said that he supported certain exclusions, she moved back and her eyes went to the side like she was thinking like, wow, what do I say about that? Well, because she was so well rehearsed, she said exactly what she rehearsed. She followed it up by saying that he did not support certain conditions, which he clearly just said he did. For me, That shows that she had a well-practiced line, which is fine. The question for me is, will we hear more from Kamala Harris moving forward after this debate before a second debate is agreed upon? I think it's very important for her to start speaking to the media, and not just media that supports her, like ABC News, who put on this debate. Check this out.
Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem.
That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it.
I warned you before that I was going to give my opinion in this video. I can't help it. And when it comes to the issue of the border, there is no justification for Kamala Harris. There's no justification for Joe Biden. We have seen the most amount of immigrants in our country than any other time in history. Do you remember what happened with Texas and how Governor Greg Abbott was trying to stop the people from coming in, and the Biden administration decided that they wanted to stop him? Have you ever seen somebody that had just bought some brand new clothes and the clothes were folded up in a package, and then they take that shirt right out the package and they put it on? That's what I see walking up and down my streets in the community that I live in. You never saw anybody walking on the sidewalks. This is a town where you need a car or you need to catch a ride. When I first got here, they didn't even allow Uber in this town. Now, you see people walking up and down the street with creases all in their clothes. You see houses being renovated, and you see migrants moving into these houses while you and I, the American people, are footing the bill and dealing with inflation. Wrapping up this video, you've watched other videos by now, and some people say Trump won, some people say Kamala Harris won. I believe that Trump won simply off of the records of his presidency versus the Biden administration and Kamala Harris's administration. However, I do believe that Kamala Harris did much better than people thought she was going to do. I hope they do a second debate. If they do, definitely make sure you subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to cover that debate. The comment section is open. Let me know what you think. I want to know what you think. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next video.